My name is Ignacio Munoz, although everybody calls me Nacho. I'm a scientist working for a non-for-profit foundation called CHDI based in the US. I've been leading the biology department there for 10 years, mostly in the context of developing therapies for Huntington's disease. So my team has been behind a lot of the studies that are now reaching the clinic in terms of gene therapy. And we've been working in various aspects of the disease for a long time. The more I got to know people, the more I realized that there were other needs that they had besides science, and the science worked very slowly. Initially, I started writing a blog for patients so that they would know more about science, because I felt that there was a lot of misinformation and misconceptions about the disease, and particularly about when a finding was truly important. At the same time, this is about 2010, I started trying to establish a Latin American network of clinicians and scientists. So I held a conference in Santiago de Chile, where we invited people from all over Latin America, and the idea for the network started. The network was founded in 2012, and I was in Rio de Janeiro, and I was giving a conference to patients explaining what we do at CHDI and the advances that we were making. And there were a few questions, and when I was leaving, Huntington's patient in a wheelchair with his wife came by. He didn't speak Spanish or English, but his wife spoke English, so she translated, and he held my hand and was crying, and he said, "I know that you will not be able to help me, but please help my daughter." And it was really a moment, really a revelation for me, where I really felt that maybe there was other things that I could do that could really help people like him at this stage. And also that he was right, that the work we were doing today is probably going to be transgenerational in terms of its impact. That people who are sick today probably would not benefit from the work that we were doing directly, but hopefully we can help the new generation. So that moment made me feel like I really wanted to do more than what I was just doing from a scientific perspective. The second thing that happened is that I was talking to them about the importance of genetics and how to find modifiers for the disease. And the president of the International Huntington's Association, who is a good friend of mine, was there. And she said, "Actually, Nacho, scientists have been asking people to do a lot of things, like they did for a long time in Venezuela, and they contributed for a long time, but today they're really nothing has really changed for them. And I think you really should think very carefully before you ask people to help you again if you're not willing to give anything back." And I was completely, number one, I had no idea what the situation was in Venezuela because I hadn't been at that point, and I was really taken aback. So we chatted, and at that moment I decided, okay, well, maybe I really need to go and visit and see what the conditions are, not only in Venezuela, but I met people in Brazil and I met people from Colombia. So I decided that I was going to identify local people who could take me and go. And that's when the idea for Factor H started. So Claudia Perandones is a geneticist, medical geneticist, and a PhD in molecular biology from Buenos Aires. She's been working with patients, Huntington's patients, for a long time. Claudia and I met in the context of the Latin American network. So when I held the first meeting, she came to it because she was working already in one of the largest HD clinics in Buenos Aires. And we hit it off at a personal level very quickly. We became friends, and we started traveling together to the communities. And I think the idea, her being in Latin America, she could really help me connect with a lot of physicians that I obviously didn't know in the different countries.
And what was it?
It was not until 2012 when I had visited a couple of the communities in Colombia and in Brazil that the idea took some shape. And in a conference in Mendoza, in Argentina, Claudia and I organized a tango concert launching Factor H. So that was the symbolic beginning of the project.
Nacho, because as an introduction, if you could say Claudia and who she is.
Okay.
Because it's a great
Sure.
first stop. Yeah.
Yeah.